Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode Us of the Modern Norse Journey podcast. Uh, we are your hosts, Fro Double G, and I guess on this side, Beard.
Beard. Hola.
So, as this is kind of like the first little starter episode, real quickly, we're just going to kind of go over why we started this podcast. So Beard and I are both Norse pagans, heathens, Ostru, whatever label you want to use. Kind of all changes in different situations, I know. We basically, we've kind of struggled to find like community between the two of us. And then we eventually got together and made a Discord for pagans in the Great Lakes area because he's in Wisconsin, I'm in Michigan. And we decided, hell, we'll do all the states around the Great Lakes area just in case. And then we also both are helping each other out make more local Facebook pages. To also, again, help with building a little community. So that's kind of where we all started. And then we decided, hey, let's go a little further. Let's just do some podcasts and talk a little more. So we have a couple few goals that we basically have here on the podcast that we want to just share how we do our practice between the two of us, and get you guys commenting to let us know what you all do to just kind of figure it all out, see what fits and what works for you, for us, and just kind of talk about it, along with find some more heathens. Yeah, you dirty old pagans, you dirty heathens, we're looking for you. Honestly, community's a bitch. Come on, we all know it's hard to find in this religion, so we're here.
Right.
We're doing it. We're chatting.
It's not like the internet's doing a good job of helping us.
Well, can only do as good as we make it. So here we are.
That's fair too. I mean, when you use local ads and they take stuff off or down.
Yeah, there is that. So why don't we get a little bit into who we are? So who is Beard?
Well, Beard is, like you said, I am, we are, he is a Norse pagan, Ossetru, heathen, because there's 500 terms these days. What could fall into that? And I mean, and then there's like 4 or 5 sub levels of Ossetru for different things as well. But I've been down this path for 15 years, give or take. And I mean, trying not to ramble too long with it, but really, I think the journey for me began in high school. Not right now, Keshi. It is time for you to go. You literally just interrupt me on my podcast. Oh, children. So be sure to edit that part out. So
we can leave that in because again, it's all part of the thing. We are parents.
That's true. This is true. We were both parents.
It's going to be just part of it,
right? And I will have plenty of interruptions from him, I'm sure. That is my youngest child, my 5-year-old. As of this recording, he's 5, I should say. So for 15 years I've been on this path. Started for me in high school. Out of just context, prior to being, or coming in contact with a pagan family, which is where my journey kind of started. But before that, my family really didn't do anything religious. I mean, that's why previously I haven't really mentioned that at all. I mean, we weren't raised in a Christian household or anything, but when my parents got divorced, my dad did go and become a born-again Christian, which had its own hurdles in dealing with him as a teenager when he's born again. But so in high school, I was friends with a brother and sister who their entire family, their mom and dad, I don't know about the rest of their family beyond their family unit, but they were like an entire like pagan family. Um, I know for sure the dad, my memory serves me correctly, was Wiccan. The mom was also some kind of witch or Wicca or Wiccan. I believe, I could be wrong. It has been an eternity since I have spoken to them or even been around them. It's been since high school. So, uh, with that, I mean, it kind of got me interested because they kind of introduced me that, being pagan was a thing and that there was, this spiritual,
Even
religious
an
kind
option.
of option behind it. Yeah. Because, aside from just not being raised with any kind of religion, the only thing I knew about religion was you had the 500 versions of Christianity, you had, your Muslims and your Arabics, um, Judaism, you had Buddhism and Shintoism, and that's all I knew.
Right.
So learning that there was a lot more, I looked into it, I got into tarot, got into the whole, because I believed in the supernatural anyway. I was a big like fan of like the early days of like ghost hunting shows and stuff. Uh, and so I was really drawn to it. And then as I got through, continued through high school, looked into my ancestry and things like that, and really came connected to my German heritage. That went as far back as being even having descent or ancestors that went as far as Scandinavia. Um, so I mean, I got really connected with that, and then that's learning more about like Norse mythology and mythology in general, being the big nerd that I am. And then realizing that too was an extension of paganism in its own way.
Oh boy, we
Um,
can talk about that
right.
at a
That's
later episode.
definitely. Probably a couple episodes if we want to get real into it.
Yeah, because I'm not
Um,
gonna lie. Like looking back, sometimes in my like, it's like, wow, one of my favorite movies, How to Train a Dragon. One of my favorite games, Skyrim. One of my just look back and it's like, oh, there's just so much Norse stuff I was already attracted to and didn't realize. But yeah, sorry.
right. But I mean that's true. I mean, when you look at how much stuff is themed with Norse stuff or based on the mythologies
Well, just how much
of
of it
Norse mythology.
I was attracted to without even like it. I watched How to Train a Dragon numerous times. It wasn't until I became a pagan did it ever fucking dawn on me that he's literally saying stuff like "by Odin's beard" and stuff. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
And it's those fun little details that I like to catch and stuff like that. Uh, well, so where was I? I was yeah. So I became attracted to the whole Norse paganism thing, and again, this is 15 years ago, or in that roundabout thing. Coming out of high school, and uh, there wasn't. I mean, I didn't really think that there was a big community thing for it because it's not like, especially at the time, it definitely wasn't like, people were advertising that, hey, come to a pagan church, because there really isn't pagan churches. Um, Also a topic for another day.
Oh, I heard there's
uh,
one in Minnesota there.
well, there's one in Minnesota, and
Ooh.
apparently,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and apparently there is one that's
Not
like 30
associated.
minutes.
Won't be associated.
Right. I mean, there's apparently supposedly one 30 minutes north of me, but I reached out to them and they didn't get back to me. So I don't know.
Oh, hold. We that first one we're talking about. Just to clarify, that was the FA. They are focused, and we don't want to associate with them. The second one he brought up was not them. They were
Yes,
just an
the
actual
one,
decent group. So
yeah. Well, according to their website and according
right.
to
Well,
their
yeah. From what we can tell,
thing,
not focused.
yeah. At least that's what they're promoting themselves, but apparently getting a hold of them was not in my cards. So, but yeah, I just, I did it on, kind of my own and was left kind of my own resources. So, doing research on Scandinavian culture, uh, doing what I could find. I mean, and this is, mind you, this is early 2000s. So, I mean, yeah, we had the internet, but the only thing I could
Doesn't
ever get
mean
on the
everything was
internet
on the
was,
internet, right?
Right. I mean, my best resources were like I could read wiki pages about, who the gods were. Um,
By the way, when he says wiki pages, this is actually before Wikipedia existed. He says the
yeah,
early 2000s.
this is
I know this is
this
going to
is
sound for some younger folks, but Wikipedia actually didn't come around till I was in high school. So when we say they're like, well, the internet was around, but things weren't on the internet, there literally were like, first off, go look at YouTube. YouTube wasn't around for the most part. And you're a little bit older than me, so your high school, like, it was not around because YouTube started off when I was at middle school, high school. So, like, there's just a lot of things that just weren't uploaded, weren't made, like, text weren't put on the fucking websites.
yeah. Uh, so I mean, I had to do a lot of like going to the library or reading what I could find through web pages. But I mean, even then, it's like I'm looking at stuff that doesn't have any kind of cited resource.
Right, right.
Doesn't have anything reliable. So it's like I'm getting all of this, secondhand or third account type information, which, it is what it is and it's helpful. But, um, and at the time too, not having anyone to rely on and just kind of doing it all on my own. I didn't know things like the Poetic Edda existed at that time. I didn't know that there was the Prose Edda, the Hobble. I didn't know any of that stuff was around. So I didn't even think to look for any kinds of stuff like that. I was just kind of gobbling up whatever I could. Um, it wasn't until years later when I'm really trying to deep dive and figure things out, when I'm coming up to points along my path where it's like, am I doing this right? Like, is there a better way to do this? That's when I found out, things like the Prose Edda. But that's when you started seeing that stuff on the internet, online, when you could then start shopping online for stuff. And then you had YouTube come around, but even then, YouTube was all the early days of YouTube were we're going to Candy Mountain, Charlie. Um, if someone gets that reference, please
GIFs,
say something.
GIFs, fucking
Yes.
JPEG stuff. Like, not JPEG. Wow, I'm Flash. There we go. Flash
Oh my
animations
yes,
and
Flash animations,
and
web brow
yeah,
web
web-based
browser
games.
indie games. Okay. Oh, you have something for me? Okay, because I'm doing a podcast. That's me as a hand, and you want as a hand? Okay.
Kids.
That,
We're going through the
that's
kids thing again here.
we're going through the kids thing again. Yeah, sorry. All right. I gotta finish my podcast, and you need to go wash your hands, and then you have 30 minutes to bedtime. Uh, so yeah, I mean, and then eventually, I mean, to kind of fast forward a little bit, because I mean, again, it's just for the better part of this 15 years, it's just me doing things on my own way, the best I can with the resources that I have. And then, I mean, roughly the last 6 months to a year-ish, really was like, all right, I really want to, start refining myself better. What's out there now? And and then I'm also feeling this need to kind of, have a community of my own, reach out and see if there is anybody else, out there and are there groups and things like that. Uh, because I over the years, I had found the occasional resource for groups like the AFA and groups. I was like, okay, I don't really want to be associated with that kind of group. Um, so in that time frame, of course, then ran into Fro through another podcast he does. And kind of started reaching out, but found things of which further pushed me of things that go on, the persecution that again, this can be a further episode too one day. Kashi, you have to go to school tomorrow. Yes. Sorry about that. So in deep diving and looking for content creators and trying to look from a community, finding stories about people losing their job or being persecuted and all that jazz, for being pagan of any kind. further pushed my need to find community, and of course finding Fro, and building what we're trying to build now, and now doing this podcast, really kind of sums it up, along with the fact that now that my youngest son, my blood child, I guess you could say, which sounds kind of weird to say, because I have 3 kids. I have 2 stepkids and then my actual son. Now that he's getting older, my wife has been okay with me kind of teaching him and showing him stuff. He's 5, so I have to really dumb things down for him. I can't, go too elaborate and weird with it, because we don't want him going around school, running around, shouting "Hell Odin," and then give people the wrong impression.
You?
I mean, I would probably get a kick out of it, but I don't think his teacher would like it too much. So I'm trying to teach him, and recently my stepkids decided that they wanted to kind of know more, and be a little more, kind of learn more and be a little more involved. Whether they're going to decide to go down this path or not is going to be up to them, and we do intend to leave it up to them. We don't want to force anything on our kids. And then my wife is formerly Christian, but now she wants to. She's always been interested in like the whole Wiccan and Wicca stuff, so she's kind of like, "Honey, tell me more." So there's that too. So with that, that kind of sums me up. I did my best not to ramble and rant, but here we are. So who is Fro Double G?
So mine theoretically should be a little shorter, because I have been a pagan for like 11 months now, just under a year, honestly, a year, basically. But in Norse pagan the whole time, but lean a little more towards heathen, as far as like a reconstructionist, because I do know like a lot of them prefer that term, if you will, or like a Germanic pagan, for about 9 months of that. Although I have been splashing in a little bit of, I've still been looking. Wicca stuff still does like fascinate me, but I just don't know if it's necessarily for me. But anyways, I was raised technically in a Christian household. Like my mom's Catholic, my dad's Methodist. I was baptized Methodist when I was like 8. I did go to church with my grandparents a few times here or there, but basically the age when you couldn't go like below and work on the arts and crafts, and you had to actually like sit up top and watch the sermons full time, that's when I stopped going. Like, I stopped being able to do the fun stuff, which ironically wasn't long after baptism, so that was like one of the last times I went. Weird. But after that, pretty much so I was atheist through most my childhood, up until like my adult life, and then I became pretty hardcore anti-theist. Like, I thought religion was dumb. I relaxed on that as I got into my late 20s, until eventually I had a spiritual experience when I was in my 30s that led me where I am here now. Right from the get-go, I've been pretty open. I haven't had to be in the quote-unquote pagan broom closet. I've been able to just be like, yo, I'm pagan. Especially since, like I said, I've always kind of had that stuff. Like, I had a shirt that said Loki made me do it before I became pagan. Right? Like, I've always kind of liked the Viking just in general as a look. Now, granted, I've also known, because I've always been into like Norse mythology and very big into like the Swedish culture. Like, I do speak a little bit of Swedish. I plan to go to Sweden. Have planned to go to Sweden. I have a Swedish friend that me and him have gamed for years together. Yeah, it's one of the ones like everyone's just like, I guess. Like, I haven't really talked to my family about it, but I guess honestly, like, if they saw my Facebook, you'd be dumb for not just kind of assuming. But I haven't really spoke to them about it. My friends, they all know. My coworkers all know. So I've been lucky in that aspect. But yeah, that's pretty much so me. Like I said, it's a short but sweet. I met Beard, I don't know, like 6 months ago. I was in my co-host. I was in her stream, and then I saw some dude named Norsen around, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then when I don't remember if it's when you were streaming or you hopped in a Discord or I asked you in that chat. One way, I just remember at some point I was pretty much so like, "Yo, Norse pagan," and he's like, "Norse pagan."
You were streaming.
Ah, that's right.
Is
You
what
showed
it
up to my
was.
stream. Well,
Yeah.
that's how we met was Nevs, and then yeah,
Yeah.
and then you showed up to my stream because that's back when I was streaming games a lot. And then I asked you there, and it was pretty much to be like, "Yo, Norse and around, Norse pagan." He's like, "Yep, pagan." I'm like, "Pagan," and yeah. Fast forward, him, and I are here, as like I said, the community thing. Um, yeah, nothing too terribly crazy.
Now we're two pagans in a pod.
Yeah, I guess we did kind of forget to go over what we do currently now. Um, like I mentioned, I did stream. I don't really stream as much anymore on Twitch. I might here or there. I might just kind of switch over to exclusively Norse themed games though. But I also play a shit ton of Smite. So, who knows? Who knows what I'm going to do with that? But I do know I'm regularly making TikToks. Majority of them are pagan related. Yeah. And then I guess that's all I really have pagan wise that I make. He did mention I have another podcast. If you really want to find it out, search me up. Links to my Twitter. You can find links to it there. It's a gaming one though. It has nothing to do with Norse paganism. Beard, what about you? Yeah.
So, as of right now, I have a Twitter, but that mostly regurgitates everything else I do, which is mostly TikTok, and then my stream on Twitch. My TikTok being, which name potentially changing soon, but I still got to figure that out. But so I mean, I do my TikTok stuff as Positive Pagan, and then as you mentioned on Twitch, I am Norsing around. Right now, I'm still working on just basically being consistent with streaming. So I'm trying to stream, Monday through Friday, kind of in the later hours of the day, or the evening, night, whatever, after my kids go to bed. But I mean, one day out of the week I am, and it's usually Tuesdays right now, where I'm kind of specifically doing Norse pagan content. But I do label all of my streams as well as all of my TikToks with with heathen or pagan and things like that, because I'm 100% open about it. I've always been 100% open about it. I don't want to hide it for any reason, so I always like talking about it, and especially on my Tuesday streams, because I am crafting and doing woodworking on Tuesday streams. So I'm currently working on
semi-Norse inspired as well as you're working on the runes.
Yep.
And your TikToks I think I finally convinced you to start working on the runes TikToks.
Yes, I did make one rune TikTok, but I am going to take your advice of just doing like the picture and either doing the words or doing the voiceover of it.
Yes.
Just my camera on my phone is being really weird.
Anyone down in the comments, tell that man that is a perfectly good, fine way of doing it. To just have a picture of the rune that he carved with simple text with a short explanation of it. It's perfectly fine. It'll work.
It's fair.
People will like it. It'll educate them one rune at a time. Because I do think that's one thing. TikTok and YouTube Shorts do have the advantage of being able to give you very short, single bits of information, and that I think will cover it well. Because there's certain ones where it's like, yeah, I know about the Tiwa rune is. I know the first 5 runes every fucking video covers, right? It's like the 15th one in the video that my ADHD has kicked in that I've actually like zoned off, right? You know what I mean?
And that's fair. I mean, and two, like you gotta account for like the content creators. The content creator monotoned. Sometimes it's better to have those short little things, because I mean, there's been videos from content creators where it's like, oh, this is really interesting. but just the way that they are throughout the video just slowly gets to me. And I
Yeah,
either
like
won't finish the
Jackson
full
Crawford
video
is a
or
college professor, and his videos are presented like a college professor would present them, not in a bad way, right? But just
right.
they are very educational, very academic in the layout. Whereas then if you look at someone like I don't know, like a Arth Huriger, you know, he gets a little more animated talking about stuff, right? It's not as just as an example.
Yeah. So but yeah, I'm gonna do it. They'll be out there eventually. In
Hell
full
yeah.
on my TikTok. I do want to do a Havamal ones too. I'm not quite sure how to do the Havamal ones yet, or how I want to go about doing those.
Do them backwards. My best
Do them
suggestion, do them
backward.
backwards. You know how many people are doing Hava Malls but faded off by the time they get to like 50 or 60? So there's like 90,000 Hava Mall stanza ones, but no one's covered, you know, besides 127s. No one's done stanza like 153. I don't remember how many they are, but you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
there's
Go backwards.
yeah. That's interesting. Well, I mean, the problem with going backwards though is that a lot of the back end ones are connected.
Well, yeah, that's going to be do chunks, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
do stanza like 110, 111, and 112. But anyways, we're going
Right.
on tangents.
We are going.
Let us know what all you're interested in, because we're interested in making stuff. I've always made content. Like I said, this is like my second podcast. I've made numerous fucking YouTubes and shit. I love it. Rambling again. God damn it.
Yeah.
This
A little bit.
has been episode us of the Modern Norse Journey podcast. Hope you'll join us for the next one. See you.
Bye.